Welcome to the Mythology Show.
Hi, hello, welcome to my video where I talk about cool people and stuff. Today we're going to be exploring the story of this guy. Yo, you got the wrong guy. What do you mean I have the wrong guy? Yeah, no, that's the movie guy. Oh, you mean the guy from mythology. Right. Actually, we're going to be talking about this guy. Today we're going to be talking about Loki, a famous trickster from Norse mythology. Today's story, known to many, is the story of the creation of Thor's hammer. Now, to give backstory on Loki, Loki was a trickster who was born son of a giant. Loki was included in the Aesir tribe of gods. He's represented as a companion of the god Odin and Thor. Although Loki is among gods like Odin, he's more of a mischievous type. I just want to put a disclaimer before the next part comes. I used the wrong mic to record half of Loki's story, so that's why the audio quality doesn't sound as good. Now to quickly summarize the story of Loki. One day, Loki woke up in a mischievous mood and decided to cut Sif's golden hair, which is the wife of Thor. Now obviously, Thor was very enraged by this and threatened to break every bone inside of Loki's body. Loki pleaded with Thor and told him that he'd go to the home of the dwarves, master craftspeople, and would fashion a new head of hair for Sif, one that's more beautiful than the original. Thor then allowed this and Loki was on his way. Loki made his way to... Here he met the three sons of Ivaldi, master craftsmen dwarves. Now Loki, overcome with the desire to create mischiefs, tells the brothers Ivaldi that somebody else has told Loki that the brothers Brock and Eitri were better craftsmen than them. Obviously, the sons of Ivaldi said no, and through a little bit of talking, Loki managed to convince them to create three treasures, one of them being golden hair. Loki then proceeded to go to the brothers Brock and Eitri and tell the same lies, but in reverse, that he told the other dwarves. Now obviously, Brock wasn't a fool and thought there was something wrong with this. Eventually, Loki ended up wagering his head. Of all things, Loki wagered his head. Now in Loki's mind, what he was thinking is that all he had to do was to make sure that the Ivaldi brothers won in the contest, and the gods would still have 6 treasures, and Loki would keep his head. Eitri leapt outside of the ford and left Brock to pump the bellows to keep it hot, so Eitri could forge. Loki's plan was to turn into a big black fly and disrupt the rhythm of Brock. Nevertheless, after biting him on the neck and biting him on the hand, Brock did not break his rhythm, and Eitri was able to forge 2 treasures. Although when it came to the time to make the 3rd treasure, Loki decided to bite Brock on the eyebrows, dripping blood on Brock's eyes. And for a second, Brock went to wipe the blood out of his eyes and disrupted his rhythm. Eitri came in mad, as while forging the 3rd treasure, a hammer, the disruption of the pumping of the bellows caused the handle to be too short. Once all treasures were done, Loki proceeds to grab the Ivaldi treasures and bring them back to Asgard, while Brock brought his treasures. Loki starts off the display by displaying the treasures of the brothers Ivaldi. The first treasure is Sif's new golden hair. The second treasure is a spear, Gundir, that never misses its target, which is for Odin. And the third treasure is a handkerchief for Freyr. The special thing about the handkerchief is that it can turn into a ship, a pocket ship. And this specific ship will be able to carry all of Aesir and will always have wind to sail. While Loki is pleased, Brock unveils his treasures. The first treasure being for Freyr, a golden boar that can carry him, run on water, and be super fast. Next, Brock unveils a golden ring destined for Odin called Draupnir. Draupnir's ability is to multiply itself. Every 9th night, Draupnir will drip
8 new rings, the same size and same weight as the original one. This is destined to make Odin richer. Final, unfinished treasure is Mjolnir for Thor. Mjolnir is a hammer that never breaks, always hits its target, and always comes back to the wielder, in this case being Thor. The Aesir are pleased with Brock's gifts and deem Brock the winner. Now Loki starts sweating because he remembers that he made a bet for his head with Brock. Now Loki tries to reason with Brock, but all Brock can hear is that he will receive Loki's head. Now, being a pretty intelligent trickster, Loki tells Brock that he can have his head, but only if Brock can cut his head off without cutting the neck. Now Brock thinks that this is shenanigans, so he talks to the gods, and the gods actually agree with Loki, saying the bet is the bet. Now since Brock can't cut Loki's head off without cutting his neck, Loki keeps his head, and the gods have 6 treasures. And the story ends there. This story that comes from Loki's life perfectly shows what tricksters are. As we follow Loki through this story, we see the qualities that he has which deems him a trickster. From the beginning of the story, we can see how Loki's urges pushes him to do mischief. An example of this is when he cuts off Sif's hair. Furthermore, Loki, as all tricksters, displays quick thinking and intelligence. An example of this is when his quick thinking saves his head at the end of the story. But as all stories of tricksters go, we can see how mischief creates problems regardless of intelligence. The greatest example of this is when Loki decides to trick the dwarves. All Loki really had to do to save his skin is get the first set of dwarves to make Sif's golden hair. But his urges of mischief make him trick them into challenging other dwarves so he can get more treasures. As all trickster stories go, this mischief has consequences. Loki blindly wagers his head, and in the end, that results in Loki almost losing his head. All this being said, I hope you've learned more about Loki, and thanks for watching.